festive included as part of the festivities will be 3 food trucks. And then we will have, of course, a variety of vendors and exhibitors out there for the community to enjoy as well. The next thing I just want to quickly mention is our brand new Teen Time program at El Salvador and Garfield Community Centers. This will be in partnership with our Parks and Recreation and staff. And we are planning a special grand opening for our Teen Time Centers on March 25th. This will take place at the El Salvador Community Center. And we'll have, it'll be in conjunction with Parks and Rec's Springfest program. This will occur right before the El Salvador Community Center Teen Time program opens on March 27th. The Garfield Community Center Teen Time program has been open since January 23rd of this year and is currently offering programs to teens and youth after school. So, you know, we'll have weekly programs out at both of these centers, a lot of things to engage teens and expose them to science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and media. Monthly workshops will also tackle personal topics such as finances, wellness, self-care, time management, as well as broader social concepts of food security, local history, and cultural competency. And then most importantly, teens will be able to help shape these programs and shape the services that we're offering through our Teen Time spaces at both El Salvador Community Center and at Garfield by participating in a weekly Teen Leadership Committee meeting. So the teens will get input about the types of services and programs that they want to see happen. So moving on, the last thing I just want to mention has been all of our Black History celebrations throughout the month of February. We held several great programs at both Main and New Hope libraries. We had a couple of movie screenings of Disney's Pixar Soul and the movie Harriet. And we also had a special author hour that featured author Jane Allen, who wrote a novel called Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, where she discusses her passion for writing and furthering diversity in book publishing. And then, of course, at the end of my report, I always supply kind of a roundup of all the programs that have happened throughout the month. And if there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer those now, but that does conclude my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Sternberg. At this point in time, I will go ahead and turn it over to Chairperson Verdin. Chairperson Verdin, we just finished up the presentation library staff report. And if there are no other questions, then the next item would be the public comments.
Okay, thank you so much.
Chairperson, you're still muted.
Chairperson Verdin is messaging me and she can't unmute at the moment. Like her technology is not letting her do it.
Not a problem. Thank you for letting us know. We'll go ahead and continue. At this point in time, we are at the public comments section. I would like to remind the public, if you would like to go ahead and provide us a comment, use the raise hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom so we can identify you as an individual that would like to make public comments. We'll go ahead and see if we have any at the moment. Just a moment, please.
Sorry to interrupt, but Mia said that it says the host won't let her unmute. And she sent me a screenshot of it, and it says the host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves.
Thank you for that information. While we go ahead and take a look at that, let's go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda, which would be the consent calendar for the minutes from the regular meeting of December 7th and excuse absences. Can I get a motion on that, please?
I motion.
I second.
All those in favor? Say aye.
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 Duly noted. At this point in time, while we go ahead and try to see what's going on with our system here, we're gonna go ahead and come back to the public comment section towards the end of the meeting. But at this point in time, we'll go ahead and get moving with the business calendar. At this point in time, I'd like to move, turn it over to our finance department with our budget presentation.
Hi, thank you. Let me share the screen. Can everyone see? Ooh. Sorry, one moment. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can see it.
Okay. Hi, my name is Alan Rivera. I'm a management intern with the Finance and Management Services Agency. I'm joined on this call with Ann Doe, our senior budget analyst, and we're going to be getting input for the upcoming fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. I'm going to be talking a little bit about, I'm going to be giving you guys a budget overview, specifically on the general fund budget, a 10-year fiscal outlook on the city's budget, how we're spending cannabis tax, some highlights for local measure X, some budget disclaimers, and then also talking about the next steps in the 2023-2024 budget process. And of course, the most important thing, getting your guys' input for the upcoming fiscal year and giving you guys an giving you guys an overview of our tools that we have at your disposal to be able to interact with the local budget and gathering any questions or comments that you guys may have. So currently, the city of Santa Ana has, our city budget is composed of non-restricted funds and restricted funds. So the non-restricted funds portion, which is mainly what we're going to be talking about today, is basically the general fund. And this is a portion of our budget that the city council has discretion over, which means that this is the portion of the budget that they really have freedom to decide where they want to spend money. And non-restricted funds make up 53% of the entire Santa Ana budget. That's approximately about $403.6 million, which is 53% of the whole budget. And restricted funds, which is basically money that has an intended purpose already. This includes funding things like trash, water, and any sort of grants that the city may receive for specific purposes. And this portion of the budget is approximately 47% of the entire budget, and that's about $356.6 million. So in the current fiscal year, this is our general fund revenue. Our adopted budget, it was $390.1 million. And so this includes $22.2 million that we received in cannabis tax, $94.2 million in property taxes, $67.3 million in sales tax, and $88.1 million in local measure X sales tax, which was approved by voters in 2018. So this is basically a 1.5% tax on top of the standard Bradley-Byrne sales tax. And it's meant to go down to 1% in 2029 and is set to sunset or expire in 2039. And all other revenue compose $118.3 million, which is approximately 30% of the general fund. This includes things like business licenses and business licenses. This is just like a general categorized overview of our expenses as a city in terms of the general fund. We spend about 51% of the general fund on public safety. So this includes police, ambulance services, fire, basically any sort of first response service. It comes out of this portion of the general fund. Also, we spend about 11% of our budget on basic services such as trash collection, yeah, that's basically just anything basics fundamentals that it takes to run the city. 11% of that of the general fund is spent on that. 13% of the expenses in the general fund are debt service, which is basically just paying down our debts and our obligations. 18% of the general fund expenses are spent on community services. So this includes like recreation, parks, etc. And 7% of our expenses are going towards administration. So this is a bit more of a detailed breakdown of the expenses for the city. So 46% of our expenses go on to pay salaries, wages, and benefits for city employees. This includes like administrative professionals, public safety professionals, etc. Another 28% goes to paying contractuals. So this includes like basically third parties that provide the city with services such as trash collection, that's all I can think of right now. Commodities. So this is like basically just office supplies and any materials that the city needs to conduct business. Oops, excuse me. Yeah. And then we have another fund transfer. So this basically is subsidies that the general fund provides to other city services. So for example, we had a portion of the general fund subsidize the Santa Ana train station. And then a bit more other categories that are on the smaller side. Here is our general fund outlook, or 10-year outlook. So this is basically projecting like the financial health of the city. And this only accounts for recurring revenues. We don't, so one-time revenues, which could be like, let's say, basically like one-time money the city might receive, isn't accounted for in this projection because since they are one-time available monies, it's hard to predict when they are going to show up. So this is basically just accounting for money that we continue getting annually and what we project, how we project it to pan out. And as you can see, sorry about that. As you can see, as I mentioned previously, local measure X is set to go down to from 1.5% to 1% in 2029. And basically the red line is our expenses as a city and the green line is our income or revenue. And once that once local measure X goes down to 1%, you can see that that's when our expenses start exceeding our revenue. So basically outlooks or a projection like this allows us to basically keep or start thinking about ways that we can plan to make make up this difference. So here is a breakdown of how we're spending our cannabis tax. One of the big expenses is youth services. In this current fiscal year, we spent 7.2 million of this tax revenue on youth services. So approximately 2 million went towards the library, and this has allowed us to fund the renovation of the New Hope Library, increased youth services, for example, like staffing the library's youth tutoring program, and making available 500 Google Chromebooks and more than 300 mobile hotspots to residents. And also has allowed us to acquire a new collection of books and materials, and the launch of a new bookmobile, which I believe should be coming soon. And another 5.2 million of this revenue has gone on to fund recreational programs. And this includes the recreation mobile, the nature center, and a traveling zoo exhibit. Also, it's allowed us to fund additional youth services like funding for nonprofits, the Zoo and You, year-round aquatics programs, free monthly youth excursions, and paid internships for the city's youth. It's also allowed us to pursue certain projects such as splash pads, 7 fitness courts, new zoo exhibits, and a new soccer field at Santa Anita Park. Another portion of this tax revenue is being spent on enforcement. So approximately 6.9 of this tax revenue has gone on to fortify spending or enforcement spending for the city. 539,000 of this money has gone up to the city attorney, and it's allowed the assistant city attorney to prepare proceedings related to enforcement. 1.3 million of this revenue has gone to planning and building to ensure compliance with zoning and inspections, administrative support, and has allowed us to secure vacant and abandoned buildings. Another portion of this money, 4.6 million, has gone to the police department. It's allowed us to hire 6 new police officers to assist on the force. And 361,000 of this money has also gone to the finance department to help us collect and monitor tax and fee collection and ensure auditing and fiscal compliance in the city. So like I mentioned previously, Measure X, which was approved by voters in 2018, so that 1.5% tax increase has allowed us to do many new things for the city. Among them are helping address homelessness. So this money has allowed us to fund the quality of life team services. It's allowed us to embark in homeless outreach and engagement, additional code enforcement. It's allowed us to help fix the streets. This includes alley improvements, traffic calming, which is basically like speed bumps, traffic circles, which are intended to make drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists safer on our streets. Street light maintenance, sidewalk and street repair. Also, it's allowed us to maintain effective 911 response. This includes having more money for police department overtime, to enter into a park security contract to keep our parks safe. And also, like I mentioned previously, funding for additional police officers to help keep the city safe. This money has allowed us to maintain our parks, continue forward with the park master plan implementation and improvements to the Salgado and Corbin Center. It's allowed us to retain firefighters and police officers. So the Orange County Fire Authority contract increased to maintain service level. So basically, in this contract, there was an increase to a pay, and it's allowed us to cover that. And on also like it says here, related to benefits and just like pay for public safety workers. It's also allowed us to have more youth services, like this, for hire more zoo and recreation personnel, the youth employment program to ensure that our young people in the city have work experience going off into the world, and enhancing our library services at additional and increased locations of library services. So, just as a reminder, the budget is a planning document. Like I mentioned earlier, it's an outlook. So you plan how you're going to spend your money. It allows us to do that. General fund dollars, which is what we're talking about specifically right now, the portion of the budget that the city council has discretion over, they're not restricted, meaning that like we don't have to spend this money on certain obligations or services, etc. So there's more flexibility when we're allocating general fund dollars, which is why we're holding a meeting in this presentation today, because we want to hear from citizens about what the types of services and programs they want to see in their city with this money. So right now, we're in the middle of the budget process. So we're trying to gather community input to formulate the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget. Like we're doing right now, the steps to do that, we are holding community budget meetings, such as this one right now. We have many scheduled throughout the month of March. And in addition, we're also planning to attend community events such as like the Dia de los Niños event, the Easter egg hunt event, and the zoo birthday party that's coming up on March 19th. So basically, that just goes to show how much the city values citizen input in the formulation of the city budget. The citizens' voice needs to be central at deciding how we're going to spend these general fund money. The city council is going to be holding budget workshops on May 16th and a later date in May, which has yet to be determined. And city council meetings in which the upcoming fiscal year budget will be discussed are April 4th, which I believe has recently is tentative right now, because I'm not sure it's going to be that day, but once we know that, we will let you know. May 2nd is another city council meeting where the budget will be discussed. And on June 6th, the first reading of the upcoming fiscal year budget, or a public hearing, will be held on June 6th, and then another one on June 20th. So these are all opportunities where citizens will be able to comment on the upcoming fiscal year budget. So like I mentioned, citizen input in this process of coming up with budget decisions for the next fiscal year is super important. The Finance and Management Services Agency has taken multiple steps to make sure that we're capturing as many voices as many citizen voices as we can, as we prepare to formulate this upcoming fiscal year's budget. So, you can, if you don't have the opportunity, or you don't think of, or you think later on you have something to contribute, you're always welcome to call us or email us. We also have this great survey. It's a 13-minute survey where we are asking you questions about like what's important to you, that to be reflected in the city budget. And we have this 13-question survey available in English, Spanish, Vietnamese. So you as yourself, take the survey, tell your parents, tell your grandparents, tell your friends, etc. It's we're just really wanting to capture as many voices as we can. We have some really cool tools that allow you to basically play with the current fiscal year's numbers, allows you to adjust how we're spending money, and just for you to kind of simulate, okay, like puts you in the hot seat basically of how to make these difficult budget decisions. So that's our simulation tool. Our prioritized tool is more of a ranked choice order tool, and I'll be talking more about it in these next two slides. So if you scan the QR code right there, that'll take you directly to our simulate tool, which you'll have an opportunity to maybe play around with later on another day or tonight. So here's a screenshot of what the tool looks like. It basically allows you to adjust our spending categories with the current fiscal year's money. So your task is basically to balance the budget. So you're allowed to, insert your own ideas and maybe allocate a certain amount of money towards those ideas, but you also have to decide how money is being spent on administration, community services, public safety, etc. So basically, if you see the tool or the toolbar up there, you have a $15 million surplus. So you have $15 million to spend in addition to what's already being spent or on new ideas. And basically your task is to keep the balance in the budget. Basically, you can't overspend. So yeah, that's a tool that citizens can use to become more familiar with the budget. And again, these are actual numbers of the current fiscal year's budget. So you're able to kind of learn about how money is being spent currently. And our prioritized tool, this, like I mentioned, this is more of a ranked order tool. You have a certain amount of money. I think it's a $15 million surplus. And you have to decide how we're going to spend this extra money from the general fund. So there's the amount of choices total to an amount that exceeds what you have available. So you basically have to make a decision on, okay, I'm gonna spend my money on this and forego certain other projects. But also, if some of the projects that we have available are, for example, additional pools, the transformation of the Civic Center, additional code enforcement, economic development initiatives, additional homelessness services, senior adult recreation, traffic calming, and youth intervention and prevention programs. But also, if you don't like any of these projects that are outlined here, you also have the opportunity to submit your own ideas and adjust the amount of money that you want to spend on this. And again, another opportunity to hear from citizens and give your input to the city. But all these tools talk to us. So anything you suggest or enter in these tools or in the survey will be looked at by the budget office, and we'll be tracking to see trends of what citizens have asked for, and that'll help us incorporate more citizen input into the budget decisions we're going to be making later on this spring. So I previously mentioned the survey. We have worked really hard on this. Last year, one of the biggest things that we heard from the community was that the survey was too long. I believe it was 30 questions. The budget office worked really hard to reduce it down to 13 questions, while also still being representative enough of all the expenses that the city has and has to make decisions on. So, like I mentioned, take it yourself, tell your parents, tell your grandparents, tell your friends to take the survey, because this is another opportunity to hear people in the community about what they want city money to be spent on. It asks you questions about recreation programs, public safety, code enforcement officers. It's also, all this information is going to be shared with city council members and city staff, like I said, to make difficult financial decisions or fiscal decisions later on in the spring before we adopt our budget. So here's a screenshot of when you're actually on the survey. These QR codes will take you directly to your language preference, but you're also able to select or switch language preference once you're on the budget or once you're on the survey. And that's it for my presentation. I have a couple of the budget staff here on the call, ready to take questions and hear your comments. We'll be writing everything down to make sure that we incorporate it into formulating the budget. So if you think of something later on, feel free to go onto our website to explore these cool new tools or reach out to us. And yeah, I'm ready to take any questions.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Mr. Rivera. I really appreciate it. Again, just want to open up the floor to any commissioners who have any questions or comments, maybe specific budget concerns that seeing as the budget team is here. And I also want to apologize real quickly for being late to the meeting and having technical difficulties, but carry on, please. The floor is open for any questions.
Like I mentioned, if I'm sure you might not think of anything right now, but it's super important to hear from the young people in the city because, you guys live here, and we're very open and willing to hear from all of you about your suggestions. So if you don't feel comfortable sharing anything right now, feel free to reach out to me or anyone in the budget office, or take the survey on your own, etc. There's plenty of opportunities for you guys to make your voices heard in budget decisions.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. This is Ann Doe from the budget office. I also want to share that, if you don't have any questions, we could take feedback, we could take input on what you want to see in the next fiscal year's budget as well. And we could take notes and answer any specific questions you have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Doe. Seeing as there is no questions yet, I wanted to ask, do you think that the budget office would be willing to take any sort of suggestions for a major project within the city, for example, for something like a permanent skate rink or like a youth center for the city?
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for voicing that, number one. We'll be sure to write that down. But also another way to, capture that suggestion would be using our prioritize tool. Like I mentioned, there's a portion of it where you can actually tell us, let's say, just in your mind, like how much you want to spend on this youth center or whatever project you'd like to spend it on. So it kind of gives us like a general amount of how much citizens are willing to spend on a project, right? And then also it tells us specifically like what you want the project to be. And then also in the survey, there's a portion that asks about like youth recreation services that you can obviously voice your opinion on that question, and that'll help us put the pieces together, right? Like in the survey, people asked a lot about increasing youth services in the city. And, one of the things that we heard in the budget meeting was people wanted a youth center. So like, it'll be like, okay, it'll help us decide like, okay, this is a funding priority. Let's focus our attention on seeing if this is possible.
Thank you so much. So essentially the tool would be used to, assess like the general community consensus of what they would want the funds. Okay, the surplus to be spent on. Okay,
Your
thank you.
suggestion that you just made right now, we made note of it, and we'll keep it in mind. Thank you.
Yeah, because I'm a part of a committee that's currently building like I guess you could say a plan to propose a youth center within the city. So I'm glad to see that there's money for it. It's not going to cost like $1 bajillion, but we'd really like to see, I guess, that type of collaboration between like, the city and local nonprofits so that we can actually make a potential youth center of reality. So thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your suggestion.
And also, I really want to emphasize that the floor is open to all of the commissioners, even if it's just like a little one-off like suggestion. Like, please, like this is very important that the budget team hears all of our concerns and or suggestions, and also feedback on their presentation if need be.
Yeah, if there's anything that we can further clarify, I have more senior staff on this call that can help me answer your questions. So anybody feel free to speak up now or follow up later on. I'll drop my email in the chat box. I don't see one, but if you go onto our budget or the santaana.org / budget, you'll have our contact information there, and those messages will get relayed back to us. So, all right. All right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys take advantage of these tools, and feel free to reach out if there's anything we can clarify, anything you want to suggest to us, any questions about the survey or tools. We'd be more than happy to maybe walk you through it one-on-one. I'd be more than happy to.
And also, we're also happy if, you decide at a later time you want to meet in person, discuss something in further detail, then we're happy to meet with you as well.
Thank you
All
guys
right.
so
Well,
much.
thank you so much to the budget team, and just everyone at the at you guys at the city for working so hard on this presentation and putting it all together and explaining everything to us. So really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, we are going to move it back to public comments. So I believe recording secretary, you would call on people who have public comments.
Thank you, Chairperson Verdine. For those of you that would like to provide public comments, please use the hand feature at the bottom of the Zoom software there. And I do see one, and I will go ahead and allow Mr. Herrera for his public comments. Mr. Herrera, you have 3 minutes for your comments. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Recording Secretary. Hi, everyone. My name is Roberto. I am Parks and Recs Commissioner for the City of Santa Ana. And yeah, I'm just speaking here before you as an individual of the Parks and Recs Commission, not as a commission as a whole. But I just wanted to share my input in relationship to the budget process. And, I think Parks and Recs has done an amazing job to really provide the opportunities for our youth through our zoo, our library, and the programming and parks that we have for our residents. So shout out to Parks and Recs for providing those opportunities. As a suggestion, I think it's important that I saw staffing levels in terms of salaries, and so I think it's important that we're able to transition as much Parks and Rec staff from part-time to full-time. I think having more full-time Parks and Rec staff, it really adds to, that experience for folks to really be out there and, have the attention and needs and for like our programming, right? I think having more staff is, I think, great. So I would advocate for more staff. Something else I think would be important is expanding our park hours during the summer. I know during the summer, it gets a little hot. A lot of our residents do not have air conditioning. So, a lot of them hang out playing basketball, up until 10 o'clock, sometimes 11. So I think if we're able to assess, hey, these are 2 parks, 3 parks where there's a lot of youth and community members out in our parks, like maybe we can like a trial run of expanded park hours into the evening, because I know some nights are very, very hot. And so also our teen excursion program, I know so many youth really love the teen excursion program. I believe there's only 50 seats available currently. If we can double that, that would be great, offering 100 youth the opportunity to be out there. And if it means more staff, then hey, we should hire more staff to help oversee that many youth. I think also like Earth Day, I know Earth Day is next month, so it may be a little bit too late for this budget cycle, but maybe for the next budget cycle, we can really talk about and address and educate the public about climate resiliency. It's been raining. I know our streets are get flooded, and so I think hey, let's talk about parks. Let's talk about let's talk about nature. Let's talk about climate change and our libraries acting as cooling centers. So I think like there's a lot that we can really educate the public around Earth Day, and climate resiliency. And I'll end with, Parks and Recs is up and running. Since the pandemic, we've been closed, but now that we're kind of open again, a lot of our residents are really loving the programming. Chicano Heritage Festival. We had, movies in the parks, concert in the parks, so many events. So if we can have the same level of funding or even more, that would be perfect, and the pandemic really taught us that people really need green space to address like mental health. People really want to be out in the community. And I know people are saying, oh my God, the recession, and I think that, the lessons learned from the pandemic is that folks want to be out there. So even during a recession, we should still continue to fund these opportunities, even more so because folks would, wouldn't have the funds to pay for any of the programming that we may charge. So if we can lower the cost for programming, that would be great. But thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto.
Chairperson Berdine, I do not see any other hands being raised. So at this point in time, there are no further public comments.
Okay, perfect. I believe that before going back to business item number 4, if you relate to me that Mr. Scott would like to make a comment.
That is correct, Chairperson Berdine.
Hi, everybody. Just real quick to the new youth commissions here, welcome, and to our continuing, hello again. I just wanted to go over a new program, something we brought back to Parks and Recreation as well as the zoo, is our Employee of the Month. We have also expanded it to include the part-time Employee of the Month. And we are going to go above and beyond, and we're also going to do a quarterly volunteer of the quarter. So we have already done 2 so far, and I just wanted to share the names and what they do from each division, if it's all right. What we do in our Parks and Recreation Commission is we have a little write-up on them, and that's maybe something we can do as we advance this. But I just want to go over who they are, just so you guys, you see them out in the park, see them at the zoo, and you recognize their names. Hey, great job, congratulations, because all these people working together make a great part of the team. So for January at our zoo, we had Fabian Conde. He's a park maintenance aide. And also we had Anthony Cortez, who is a cashier there. For our Parks and Recreation in January, we had Emerson Frankiston. We call her Emmy. She was a management aide with us, but has since been promoted to Public Works as a management analyst. So we're very proud of her. And then also in Parks and Recreation, we had Anthony Navarro. He's a program coordinator. So that was for January. For February at the zoo, and we had Janelle Parsons. She's an education specialist. She's at all our events. So if you guys have gone out to our events and seen the zoo, she's such a friendly face. And also we have Amber Suto. She is a program coordinator out there at the zoo, doing great things. And last but not least, in our Parks and Recreation, we have Hiram Uribe. He's our graphics designer. If you guys have seen all the stuff we do on social media, our stadium marquee, he's one of the driving forces to creating those flyers, creating those images. So big part of the team. And last but not least, Elijah Villasenor. He's a program leader. So again, we have so many great coworkers, so many great members of the team, and we just want to let you guys know that if you do see them and moving forward, we'll give a little bit more information about them. So it's just something we're doing to spread the love, show the love, and show what the team does for you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Scott, for giving recognition to these wonderful individuals. I would like to remind that everyone in the Zoom call that the time for public comments is now closed. Yeah, we have to move on to item number 4, which is the new outdoor library at Jerome Park.
All righty, thank you, Commissioner Verdeen. I'm excited to introduce this next presentation that we're going to make about our new outdoor library at Jerome Park. With us today, I have our consultant and architect firm, Placeworks. Presenting will be Jesse Jones. And they will review with you several concepts and look to get some of your feedback about a brand new outdoor public library. So when you think about what an outdoor public library is, think about all the things that you would expect when you walk into one of our current existing public libraries. So being able to check out books and materials, being able to read and study, being able to attend a program, being able to, find a quiet space, being able to connect with other members of your community or connect with your friends. So what we're going to try to do is take all these things, but make it all happen outside in a park. So it's a really neat, kind of interesting idea. This will be a first for the city of Santa Ana. So having given that little bit of an introduction, I want to turn it over to Placeworks, who will provide a presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jesse Jones. I'm a landscape architect at Placeworks, and I'm going to start sharing my screen now. And while I'm doing that, I also want to introduce Maria Ceja, who is also a designer and planner from Placeworks. And Maria is a local resident of Santa Ana and has been helping with a lot of the outreach that we've been doing as part of this project, including coordinating a time for us to come to talk to you all. And so we say thank you very much for having us. And we're going to open it up to comments at the end. So make sure that you you kind of save those and have them as we go through the presentation. So as Brian was mentioning, we are working with the Library Services and Department of Public Works on an outdoor library project at Jerome Park. And as Brian mentioned, this is an outdoor library. So that means all the facilities of the library, but in an outdoor park space. And so where that will be is at Jerome Park, which is on McFadden Avenue near Monte Vista Elementary School, right next to the Southwest Senior Center. And within the park, we're just talking about this little kind of piece of the park that's right next to McFadden, right next to the parking lot for any of you that have been there. And so we aren't going to take away any of the existing fields or other use areas. It's this area here that has an existing playground and some seating areas. This is sort of what it looks like now. But the outdoor library space will kind of occupy this entire area. And what is an outdoor library? Brian started that conversation by saying what his initial thoughts on what an outdoor library is, but we're really developing that now with input from residents of Santa Ana, including yourself. What we know it will have is this outdoor lending library that is able to be used without a librarian, kind of like a vending machine for library services like books, other things that you would check out from a library. You go there and you go into a small kiosk and you can use this machine. And so that will be there, but it will be in an outdoor setting. So it will have a canopy over it, but it will be there for you to kind of check out books like you would do in a library. The rest of the space will be used for different types of things. And we've developed two different alternative ideas that we're going to walk through with you all to get your feedback. But we aren't really decided on either one. We're not going to go one direction or the other. We're really looking for input on how we move forward with a preferred idea for what to do in this space. So first thing we did was we looked at the site and what's there already, including some things that we know we want to save, like existing trees, pathways, things we want to keep the same about Jerome Park. And then we developed these two alternative ideas, which I just talked about. They're called Where the Sidewalk Ends and Call of the Wild. And those are about the themes of these different ideas. So I'm going to walk through what those two options are right now. So Where the Sidewalk Ends is really an option that focuses on really high active uses for the site. So in addition to that kiosk that we have, we would also have a little course for kids to kind of ride their bikes or scooters or skateboards around. We would have a couple play areas that would have kind of big, vibrant buildings that look like pieces of a city. So they're kind of kids interacting with like a cityscape. We have lots of things that are in vibrant colors. We have a place for kids to play music. It's really an active, kind of really vibrant, lively space. This is a conceptual kind of bubble diagram of what the different types of uses would be. So that kiosk and that library checkout station that I talked about would be here, kind of anchoring the site right at the entryway. That scooter track area would be here, kind of adjacent to the library. Additionally, there'd be some places to have programs, like programs that they have in the library now, different kind of gathering for groups, education, outdoor learning. There'd be 2 kind of play areas themed around this kind of city center idea, maybe a small pretend library, a small pretend fire station, something like that. Over in this area, the community garden at Jerome Park is here. So maybe another kind of kids community garden where there'd be things that kids could, pretend to use shovels and dig, and also kind of pretend construction site, a space where there could be places for them to make music, bang on things, make a lot of noise. In between these kind of active use areas, we have planting and some places for recreation, for sitting, enjoying picnics. We put in a little bit of topography with these little short hills. Right now, the area is really short. We've heard from residents in the neighborhood, there's a lot of concerns about safety. So making sure that any topography that you put in, there's lots of clear visibility through the site. So even if you're kind of standing here in the parking lot, you'd still be able to see all of these use areas, although these smaller hills might add some kind of variation to the site just to make it a little bit more fun. Here's some images of what these different areas would look like. That miniature roadway and track area, something like this, a track that kind of meanders around those existing trees, places for kids to kind of pump up their bikes, take their scooters, park, pretend to like they're driving. Here's those play areas, some images of what they could look like. They wouldn't be these exact things, but something like that, things that we would kind of reference, maybe some buildings in Santa Ana. And some very vibrant, bright colors, maybe about the garden area, and then some musical instruments. Here's the existing site I showed you at the beginning, kind of where we'd be putting this new outdoor library. And here's the proposed improvements. So a lot of the pathways stay the same, but we're integrating all of those elements kind of into this use area. So the checkout station again is here, but the spaces that you could use would be the entire site. So while the book lending area is here, the whole site would become the library. So the second alternative, so that's kind of the summary of where the sidewalk ends alternative. So now switching gears, we have a second alternative called the Call of the Wild. And in contrast, this option is really focused on trying to kind of create a calm, natural relaxation space, sort of away from the city. Here's some images of some things we used as inspiration, lots of wood and natural elements, places to play with water, natural forms, lots of curves, seat walls that kind of tuck against planting areas, using materials that we could do outdoor art with, like places to draw with water, still having play equipment, but having it be very themed with natural colors, looking like wood, spaces for kids to take part in planting or outdoor education type things. Here's a similar bubble diagram to what we showed with the first one, that library kiosk staying in the same place, having lots of kind of passive use spaces, places to relax here, creating a reading nook tucked into another short hill that's still low enough for you to see around it, but you kind of have a nice place to get in, get very quiet, read your book, maybe do your homework, play a game, something kind of to relax. Here, having a big outdoor library and nature making space, like places you could get inspiration from natural elements to like make different things with natural materials. Having a play area here that's themed around a tree house to kind of reference some natural elements, places to play with water and sand, places to kind of go through little passageways. And in both alternatives, we're going to have a lot of water-wise planting areas, transforming a lot of this lawn into water-wise planting, so that we can kind of shift away from a heavy use on irrigation for these areas. So here's some imagery of what some of these places would look like. So that quiet kind of relaxation zone would have built-in seating areas for the reading nook, something like this, kind of stacked, some natural elements like logs and boulders kind of tucked into the site, small hills that you can see over, but create little bits of topography. So you kind of have a more rolling setting, something like some seat walls with planting behind them. Here's that kind of program outdoor library space. It could be a place for kids from local schools to come with their classes, to have outdoor lessons. places to have classes on gardening, places to have different outdoor programming from the library or from the zoo, which has mobile programs. And that play use area kind of on the right side, using materials that are kind of more similar to natural elements with kind of browns and greens that kind of reference the things that you would see out in a forest. Here's the existing site again. And here's the conceptual idea of what that would look like. So that reading nook kind of tucked into this area, kiosk here, these pathways, outdoor gathering space, and this large playground here to the side. So we know that one of the things that will kind of be the anchor to this site will be that library kiosk where you're checking out the books or checking out the different pieces of program elements. So we know it's going to kind of be here at the entryway. And so we had some ideas of what we could do to create kind of a nice entry to the outdoor library, something that would kind of make you know that you're entering a library space. So here's some simulations of what that could look like. So here's the existing and here's a proposed idea. So inside of this building, that would be that kiosk, that checkout area. This option has different colors of panels and then a big library and then the words library there. So you know kind of where the library is, what this type of space is. Another option would be to use some perforated metal to create kind of a more natural tone that sort of fades back into the background a bit more. Or a third option would be to go with something big and vibrant that has sort of a more industrial look to it, using a shipping container, but still using some library branding so people know what it is. So these are kind of those options, and just looking at what those things would look like. There's the kiosk inside with the building around it, and so this would be the only part of the project that you would go inside of. So you would go check out your books and you would take them out to the outdoor library space. So that's sort of the end of the presentation about the alternatives. I want to talk to you kind of about what's next on this project. So we're here thinking about design alternatives. We're going to take your input and input that we've heard from other community members and come up with a preferred concept, a conceptual idea of what these elements are, what we're going to put together to design kind of the final design. We will take that into construction drawings, which means something that we're going to take these pictures and turn them into things that can actually be constructed by a contractor. And that will go out to a public bid for construction in January. And that just means that then that will be constructed in 2024. So that's next year. And the city has received a grant to do this work. So it's something that will be moving forward. You all just heard a really, really great budget presentation thinking about where we're using money. And so this is a project that does have the funding for construction. So just so you all know what you're weighing in on today. During this whole process, we think it's really important that we hear from you all, from different people, about what they want in this site. We think that's going to be the best way for it to get used, is if people are giving us their input on how they're going to use it. So we talked with a group of students from KidWorks about a month ago. We talked to the Parks and Rec Commission. We went to a neighborhood meeting last week, and we're talking to you all tonight, and then we'll present to a parents group in about a month. We've also been doing some one-on-one stakeholder interviews with local residents to get their input. And so with that, I'm going to stop talking and take any questions that you all have. Some thoughts about what I wanted to prompt you all on as you think about kind of giving me feedback is, what did you like about these alternatives? You don't have to pick one or the other. You could like one piece of the first one and one piece of the other. Just tell us kind of generally which things were speaking to you. What do you think could be removed and shouldn't be in either option? Is there anything missing that we didn't talk about in either one that you'd really like to see? And is there anything else that we should consider from your perspective that we should think about for an outdoor library? So with that, I'll stop talking. I'll put these pictures back up for reference. And I don't know if you have to raise your hand or not. So I'll just turn it back over to Mia.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Jones and Ms. Ceja. I really like the different types of alternatives. It leaves a lot for, I guess, like you get the best of both worlds in both of them, and I really like them. Before I speak or ask my questions, I'd like to turn the floor to my fellow commissioners. Please feel free to ask any questions.
This is just a quick comment, but both options are actually like super nice. If I were a little kid visiting this place, I would never want to leave. Like I would probably want to go every day. I like both options for sure. Like, so either or would be really nice.
Thanks. Kimberly, what would make you want to go as a person your age?
Just like the outside, the outdoors, like the space, I guess you could say. So like for the Call of the Wild, the more like it reminds me of like, this might be a little odd, but it reminds me of like Twilight, like the outdoors, like the forest and everything. So yeah. So like just sitting down and reading a book out there would be really nice.
Hopefully less vampires.
And werewolves. Anyone else would like to comment?
I like both of the ideas too. And the same way that Kimberly said, I like wouldn't want to leave. And I think it's the idea of like outside, like having an area outside where everyone can benefit something is like really entertaining to me.
Would anyone else like to make a comment? Or ask any questions? There's a lot, so it's okay if you take your time.
So as you all are thinking, I do want to say that we do have a survey that you could take a little bit more time to think about these options. I'm going to have Maria put the link in the chat right now. We have this survey right now. The link here is in English, but we have it in Spanish and Vietnamese as well, if you'd like to share it with your family members. It's a little bit of a long survey, and I heard in the previous presentation that the budget group got some feedback about having surveys that are too long. So we're not sharing this universally. We're really trying to share it with people that we've had a chance to talk to about the alternatives. So if you do, I would really encourage you all to take the survey, give us any additional feedback that you have, but also share it with your family or friends, kind of give them a little preface of what this is about. Tell them that this is a project that's going to get built, that we want to have some feedback on. And we welcome you to share that with them as well. Just give them a little heads up that it might take a few minutes to kind of get through it, and that you can fill in any questions that they might have.
So there isn't a chat function in this meeting, but I'll share it with Recording Secretary Sandoval so that he can share it with the commissioners.
All right, thanks, Maria. I forgot about that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing like the feedback and all that, and how there's a survey. It's perfect. I was actually going to ask about the timeline, but then you guys showed the little presentation, little slide. So I wanted to add my comments. I personally really like the first one. Like I saw like the little like city vibe, you know. I really like it, but I like both of them like a lot. I like the natural appeal of the second one, but at the same time, like I was just imagining like you guys building like a little mini water tower in the little like city playground. And I also like how much shading there is in the first one, because I see that there's a lot of like areas where you guys would have water-wise shade planting, and like just I think that's really important. You know, parks, as you guys know, are like, especially during the summer, are kind of hectic and don't have much, even though there's trees, it's very hard to find nice shaded space. So I think it's going to be a great inclusion to the city. This question is specifically for Director Sternberg. So what exactly, like how will having an outdoor library, like I guess, correlate with the need to have more library spaces in the city? Because I think it's really great that we're having an outdoor library, but we also need those physical spaces considering we only have 2.
Yeah.
So
yes,
I want to see the
yes.
correlation.
Yeah, absolutely, Commissioner Verdeen. And I think this is not meant to necessarily replace a brick and mortar physical location, but it's meant to be more of a passive, in general, a passive kind of library location. In the essence that my staff will still bring services out, and we will still have programs out there, and we're designing the space to do that. But sort of in its everyday, you know, when you go in, you know, check out a book, you know, from our kiosk, it's all self-service. So this is a little bit more along the lines of a little bit lower level. It requires a lower level of staffing in terms of, you know, providing direct service to the public. But it also, I think, it's a different way of thinking about libraries, right? Like we're very used to libraries being inside, you know, under a roof. And I think this is a unique way to say, well, hey, libraries don't necessarily have to be, traditional. They can be, we can provide library services in other ways as well. So I think it's just kind of an out of the box way of thinking about what your public library looks like. Taking advantage of the generally, we're not experiencing a lot of this currently, but generally year-round nice weather that we have in this part of the state. So I think that is another reason why, this makes sense here for our community. But yeah, I do agree, and that it's not necessarily a replacement for a physical structure, but it is a added location and service point for which the community can both enjoy their parks and enjoy their public library service. So I hope that kind of helps. And does that answer your question fully?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Sternberg.
Okay.
And I'll move it. Thank you so much for your response. I'll move it back to asking the ladies at Placeworks. I was wondering, for the first option, what exactly is a symphony music zone? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think the symphony has to come from the people who are playing it, but outdoor music zones are just, there's different equipment that you can, that's just kind of like play equipment that has bells or chimes, different things that you hit or hit with sticks or hit with your hands to make sounds. So it's just an area that would be focused on place to make music. There's different types of equipment that we could look at there that make, drums or chimes, bells, lots of things like that. So the kids could make their own symphony.
Okay, thank you so much for answering my questions. I'll open up the floor again to any of the commissioners who may have any comments or concerns. Okay, seeing as there are none, I want to thank you guys at Placeworks for putting together this really nice design possibilities presentation. Thank you so much. That's all of my comments and concerns. So yeah, thank you so much. I think I'm very excited to see how this I guess turns out, and I'll be about 20 by the time this starts building. So also I hope I still get to enjoy it, taking relatives and friends over there.
Thanks for that. So just in terms of next steps, we will kind of move to a preferred concept, and we will we'll send an update about kind of what that option is so that you all can see kind of how we incorporated the feedback from different members of the public. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so moving on from business item 4, I wanted to ask if Mr. Pagano has any questions before we move forward. Mr. Pagano, I can't hear you. I see that you're unmuted, but
Are you able to hear me now?
yes.
Perfect. All right. So we just moved offices, so we're having to deal with creative ways of talking to each other. So I was on the headset, but everybody's gone. So what my comments were going to be, Commissioner Verdeen, was we are in the process of naming one of our newest parks over on Standard and McFadden, which is in Ward 6. And much like last time, we want to create an ad hoc committee that it consists of our youth commission and also our Parks, Recreation, Community Services Commission. So what I'm looking for is some volunteers from the commissioners, 2 to 3, that will be representing the youth commission as we provide the submissions from the community so that they can narrow down the selections that will be forwarded onto the Parks, Recreation, Community Services Commission, which will then provide a recommendation to the Planning Commission, which will then provide their recommendation to the City Council. So I would really like if Commissioner Cabrera would be one of those volunteers, just because she is the Ward 6 representative. I think it's really important for her voice to be heard, but I'm also looking for 2 other volunteers on whoever may be interested.
Yeah, I volunteer.
Thank you.
I would also like to volunteer. I haven't been on the ad hoc committees yet, and seeing as Vice Chair Weezar was on it last time, I'll throw my hat into the ring. But one more person.
I volunteer. I'll do it again.
Great. Thank you so much, commissioners. I really appreciate it. And thank you very much. That's all I had for my comments today.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Pagano. So we will end the meeting with commissioner comments. So this is a time for commissioners to speak on the meeting or just any general comments or questions that they may have. We will begin with, and you are not provided to you're not required to give a comment if you want to. We will start with Commissioner Guerra, which welcome to the Youth Commission. Sorry, I was late.
That's okay. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed my first meeting and I got to see how everything kind of works. So just trying to get into the swing of this new job, but no comment. I really enjoyed the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Is Commissioner Jaimes here? Okay, seeing as they are not here, we'll move on to Commissioner Sarmiento.
Hi, no comments, just a general thank you for all the fantastic presentations. It was really informative all across the board, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Sarmiento. Commissioner Cabrera?
No comments or questions. I just think that this meeting was pretty, like how Commissioner Sarmiento said, pretty informative, and it was a really good and effective meeting today.
Okay, Commissioner Weezar?
No comments, but I like to say how like proactive this meeting was, getting ahead of what we think we want to add to the budget. Again, this is our great first meeting back so far, and I think we're off to a good start if was our first meeting.
Okay, and my comments. I would like to say welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. And again, a sincere welcome to Commissioner Guerra and Commissioner Jaimes, who is not currently in this meeting. I just wanted to say, I guess just thank you for being here. I think it's really important that over these next few months, seeing as it is the start of a new fiscal year in June, it's very important that us as youth commissioners take our role as representing the youth and making sure that our I guess demands is putting it one way, but our requests and what we would like to see in the city is put into the minds of city staff and people who come like from the budget department and put together these presentations, make sure that everything that we need in the city, especially because we have a budget surplus and we have the tools readily available, such as the budget simulation, we have to make sure that we're making our voices heard. And I really appreciate everyone here in the meeting. So I'm not sure if it was sent out through email, but there are a few more budget meetings that which this meeting was a part of over the next, I would say 2-3 months. So I think it's very important that we as youth commissioners really take that initiative to, I guess, stand up for everything that we need as youth in the city and just take that representation to another level. So again, thank you so much to everyone here. Is there anything else, recording secretary?
That would be all, Chairperson.
All right, seeing as that is the end of the meeting, thank you so much for everyone for being here. This is the conclusion of the meeting. The next meeting will take place on Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. Meeting adjourned at 5:51. Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Take care. Bye.